Hilda von Wimbleshot here. Thank you so much for coming to visit me. Today we are going to answer that age-old question. What on earth am I supposed to do with my husband's old balls? Yes, believe it or not, we are going to take this perfectly plain, ordinary, boring old bowling ball, and we are going to change it into this lovely, sparkling thing of beauty, the mosaic garden ball. Isn't it gorgeous? When you don't have to be an artiste to pull this off either. No, no, no. I made this one all by myself, and I'm certainly no artiste. In fact, I'm colorblind, and I have 2 left thumbs. Trust me, if I can do it, so can you. Greetings and hello! Welcome to my show! I am Lady Hilda, and this is my show! In my show right now, I will show you how to make all kinds of lovely stuff. I promise you it won't be tough. You don't have to have talent or be the artsy-craftsy type. In fact, you don't have to have any experience at all. Lord knows I'm no artiste. And I'm clearly not a lyricist either. Watch my show right now, and I'll show you how to have a jolly time with me and maybe learn a thing or 3. Then afterwards we'll have some tea. Trust me, I will show you what to do. I am Lady Hilda. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. And if I can do it, so can you. I am Lady Hilda. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. If I can do it, so can you. Today we are going to learn how to make the mosaic garden ball, and I just know we're going to have a smashing good time. But first, we will need to gather our materials. Now, all these lovely sparkly things that are attached to our ball are called tesserae, which comes from the Latin and simply means little bits of colored glass and marble and ceramic that we use in making a mosaic. Now, you can find these at any craft store, many of which have online stores if you happen to be computer savvy. Or, of course, you can collect your own tesserae by hanging on to any bits and pieces of china or crockery that you happen to break. Or, oh, I have an idea. Why don't we go on a little adventure and see what we can find? There now, wasn't that fun? And now we have all of the lovely tesserae that we're going to need. Now the next thing that we want is some glue, so that we can stick the tesserae to the ball. Now any kind of glue will do for this, but it's best if we use an exterior grade glue, and one that is goopy enough that it won't let things slide around on the ball while we're working. Now we will also need some grout, the same sort of grout that you would use for a bathroom or a kitchen. We want the sanded variety, and you'll find that it comes in many different colors. Now any hardware store will do for these items, so let's go. Hello there! Now, you'll notice that while we were there, I also picked up a nice bucket and a trowel and a sponge. So now I think we have everything that we're going to need. Oh, except a bowling ball. Well, if your husband doesn't happen to have any old balls hanging around, I have some grand ideas for how to track down a bowling ball. Come along. Righty-ho, fellow crafters. Now it's finally time to get our hands on our balls. Now, unfortunately, this one seems to be a little defective. It's full of holes. Now, if you can't find yourself a bowling ball that doesn't have any holes, then you're going to have to get yourself some wood filler, exterior grade, please, and just one of these little plastic spatulas. And what you want to do is simply slap this stuff in here. Just slap it right in. Don't worry about being neat. Neatness doesn't count, of course, because when we're finished, it's all going to be covered up, and no one will see it anyway. Now, unfortunately, this does have to dry for a couple of hours, but fortunately, I happen to have one that's all ready to go. This is the glue we're going to be using. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can glue your tesserae to the ball. One way is to take a popsicle stick or a craft stick, put some glue on it, then pick a piece, put a little bit of glue on the piece, and pop it on there, like that. Now, personally, I would rather have my ball finished during this lifetime. So what I suggest is that you put some of this glue on the ball like this, spread it about with your craft stick, and you want to make it not too thick and not too thin. If it's too thin, it will dry too quickly before you have a chance to put your pieces on. If it's too thick, it will well up between your pieces of tesserae, and that won't look very nice when it comes time to grout. And don't make your area too big, because you want to be able to fill it before the glue dries. Then once we have a nice area arranged like that, then we can start taking our bits and pieces of tesserae and just sticking them on, and you'll see that it goes a lot faster this way. Now, at this point, you may be asking yourself, now, how do you know what to put where? Well, let me tell you that it really doesn't matter. You don't want to start with a pattern of any kind. It's not necessary. I like to live by my motto, be bold, be brave, be beautiful. That means just plunge right in and do anything you like. Now, I also have these nippers. Take a piece of tesserae that's a bit too large. With the nippers, you only want to put it just a little bit into the edge. You don't want to go way in here like this. It'll never break. Just a little bit on the edge, and whoop, there we go. It's a little random. There are some nippers on the market that will give you less random pieces, but once you get going, you may find that it doesn't seem to be going as you'd planned. It's not working out well. Don't worry about that, because another one of my mottos is there are no mistakes, only changes in direction. So if it seems to want to go another way, just go with it. Let it happen. It's perfectly all right. So what I'm going to do right now is just keep working on this ball. So if you don't mind me, I'm going to just get some work done now. Ta-da! There you go. Isn't it beautiful? Now, the thing is that this will now have to dry for about 24 hours. That really is best. And well, if you're anything like me, you don't like waiting. In fact, I'd really rather have it done now than done right. Well, I'm not exactly proud of that, but that's how I am. Anyway, I don't know what you're going to do while we're waiting, but I think maybe I'm going to head off back to the Shamrock and Thistle and finish up my tea. Who knows, maybe I can get myself a matching cup. See you soon! Hello again! The good news is that now it's time to get down and dirty. This next part is rather like making mud pies, so it's my favorite part of the process. Our tesserae is all stuck on good and tight now, so it won't go anywhere while we're working with the ball. So now it's time to mix up our grout. Now, it's a rather good idea to don some gloves for this part, because grout can be just a little bit hard on the old skin. Maybe on the young skin too, but I wouldn't know about that. Now, as I said before, we are using sanded grout. Now, you can use unsanded grout if you're doing something like a bathroom or a kitchen where your tiles are going to be very, very close together. But when we're working on a spherical ball like this, you'll find that there are uneven amounts of space between your pieces, and so you really need the sanded grout, because the sand is what helps the grout sort of hang on in those places. Now, you can choose from many different colors of grout. My favorite rule of thumb is to choose a color of grout that harmonizes with the colors in your ball without competing with them. So if you have chosen, for instance, to use all different blues in your ball, you might want to choose a grout that is in the silver area, something like that. Now, for this particular ball, I could use silver because it would harmonize with the mirrors, or I could use something like an oyster, which is a nice sort of almost greenish. But I think, to be honest with you, I am going to stick with good old ordinary white, because it lets all the colors be the star of the ball, and the grout won't try to stand out. Now, what I'm going to do is use about 4 to 5 cups of grout. You want to mix up enough grout to cover the ball, not too much because you don't want to waste it. It's nasty stuff to waste. But if you have too little and you have to mix some up partway through, you won't be happy. So it's best to try and mix up the right amount. Now, what we're going to do is we have to add water to this, and this is where it's tricky, because you don't want to add too much water. So as you can see, I'm using a sponge so that I can control the amount of water that I add to my grout. If we add too much water, the grout will get very thin and runny, and then we'll have to add some more of the dry grout, and then it can be a vicious cycle, and before you know it, you've made the whole box of grout. We don't want to do that. So as you can see, we're stirring it up here. All right, I think we've got it now. You see that consistency? It doesn't drip off my trowel, but it's not crumbly. Now, in order for the grout to work properly, it now needs to rest for about 10 minutes. And as you know, resting is not exactly my cup of tea, but I'll try to do the best I can. We'll see you in 10 minutes. There we go. Now that wasn't so bad, was it? I told you I don't have any patience. Anyway, now it's time for fun. Here we go with the mud pies. Now what you want to do is just take a good dollop of your grout and just whack it right onto the ball there like that. Don't even worry about it at all. Just get going. Now, I will admit that this is a rather sad and sorry moment when I ask you to cover up all your beautiful tesserae that you worked so hard on with all this nasty, mean old grout. But trust me, really, you will see your beautiful tesserae again soon, and it will all be worth it. So for now, just, you see, I'm not worrying about it at all. I'm just going forward and slapping it right on. After all, I didn't get where I am today by staying where I was yesterday. So let's just keep putting it on here. And once you've got pretty good coverage on the whole ball, what you want to do is start to work some of it off. And you'll notice I put a little toweling down because this part does get rather messy, I will admit. And as you want to work bits of it off for two reasons, of course, because we're going to have to take it off later anyway, and it's a bit easier not to have it built up too much at this point, but also because as you work it off, you'll be able to make sure that you're getting it into all of the spots in between. You don't want to leave any little air pockets or anything like that, because that won't be good once the grout is all dry. All right, I think that's about it. Now, what we need to do when we've finished that is you need to make sure that you save out a little bit of your grout, maybe take a big lump of it, put it aside in case you find later on that you've missed a spot. But otherwise, you want to take some of your water and get it into your grout bucket like this, and use your sponge to clean up your trowel and your bucket, because if you let this dry on here, you'll be very, very sorry later. Your trowel and your bucket will be a goner. You'll never be able to use them again. So get it all cleaned up. Now, this ball has to sit again for another 10 minutes so that the grout can start to set up and be not so wet. And then we'll come back and polish it. I know, once again, a 10-minute delay. What can I say? But I'll tell you what we can do. We can start to think about what we're going to do with this ball once it's finished. How are we going to display it? Well, let me tell you, I think I know just the place to find the right kind of display items for our balls. It's my very favorite store, Fern's Garden. Well, what are you waiting for? Come on! Well, now it is finally time to free our lovely tesserae from the evil spell of this nasty, ugly, mean old grout. Now, there are several different tools that we can use to accomplish this, but my favorite one is with our good old sponge. That's a good way to get started. What we do is we put the sponge in the water, but wring it out. We want it only to be damp. You don't want to put any more water on your ball at this point, because you'll simply be pushing the grout around and making it wet again. So what we do is we simply start to polish with our sponge, and you'll notice that rather quickly the sponge starts to take on rather a lot of grout. Just rinse it out, wring it out again so it stays damp, and keep going. And you can see now, see how our beautiful tesserae is coming back. Isn't it exciting? It's so exciting to see it coming back when we thought it was gone forever. So we just keep doing that, back and forth. As we go, we'll see the shiny, beautiful tesserae coming out and saying hello. Now, another tool that we can use is a brush. A simple toothbrush would do, any kind of brush. So let's expose all of our lovely pieces. See how that's working? Then we can go back to the sponge a little bit to get the extra bits off of there. Another tool of choice that I find very useful, I've got one hiding over here, is the paper towel. Sometimes the simplest tools are best. Now, with the paper towel, you simply want to actually polish each individual piece, and this will take the little haze of grout off of it. This is where patience really comes into play, because you need to really do each individual piece. Now, my last favorite tool, actually, besides the paper towel and the sponge and the brush, is, believe it or not, the finger. Now, you need to take off your glove for this one, but a finger sometimes is the best polisher, especially for the mirrors, that you can have. It does a lovely job, and of course you can feel very much in control when you're polishing. Helps sometimes to go back and forth between the finger and the paper towel. You know, there was a famous playwright once, can't quite remember his name, but he said that no play is ever actually finished, it is simply abandoned. And that ultimately is what you have to do with your mosaic garden ball, is find a moment when you can say, well, I could probably polish it some more, but I guess I will simply abandon it at this point. I think we've just about reached the point of abandonment here. I think, get this other glove off, myself a fresh piece of paper towel. Oh, now while I'm polishing, let me tell you that if you're going to keep your ball out of doors, in about a week, you will need to put a grout sealer on the ball that will help the grout withstand the weather. It comes in a bottle like this, probably many different kinds, but this is just a liquid grout sealer. You need to wait about a week until the grout has cured, and then you just pour it on. It's a liquid. You can mush it about with a little foam brush if you like. Let it sit for a few minutes, and then you'll want to polish your pieces again with another piece of paper towel so that they won't get a haze on them from the sealer. Now let's see how it's going to look on our stand. There. Oh, isn't that spectacular, if I do say so myself? I think it's absolutely lovely. Now, there are other ways, of course, that you can display the ball, as I was saying. And, oh, what am I thinking? You know, the best thing for us to do would be to go and visit some other people who have made balls in the past and see how they've displayed theirs. I think I know several different people who would love to get a visit from us. So why don't we go and have a look at how other people have displayed their garden balls? Now, I do hope that while I have you here, you will allow me to impart to you my lesson of the day. Now, when you are mosaicing your garden ball, you will inevitably reach a point when you look at your work and you think, good Lord, that's awful. Why doesn't it look anywhere near as nice as Lady Hilda's? Well, let me tell you, it's perfectly natural to doubt yourself. Everyone does it. Even I do it. But I'm here to tell you that you really mustn't look at someone else's balls and think that they're better than yours. You mustn't covet your neighbor's balls. I mean, for all you know, the very person whose balls you are coveting is looking at your ball and drooling over it, thinking it's the most beautiful thing they've ever seen. After all, we do tend to see our own flaws and imperfections more clearly than anyone else's. So you see, I firmly believe that if you just set your mind to it, you can do anything you want. I do hope that you've had a good time mosaicing your garden ball with me today. Ta for now, and remember, if I can do it, so can you. So long, cheerio! It's time for me to go. I am Lady Hilda, and that was my show. In my show just now, I showed you how to make all kinds of lovely stuff. You see that it was not so tough. I'll bet that you surprised yourself. Now, aren't you glad that you were brave? Remember, if you don't like it, you can give it away. Lord knows we had some fun. Oh, dear, I've messed it up again, haven't I? Watch my show next time, and I'll try to rhyme. You'll have a jolly time with me and maybe learn a thing or three. Then afterwards, we'll have some tea. Whee! Trust me, I will show you what to do. I am Lady Hilda. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. And if I can do it, so can you. I am Lady Hilda. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. If I can do it, so can you.